got it all wrong. We just gotta hold on and on and on and on. And I think I got it. Take a look around me, taking pages from a magazine. Been looking for the answer ever since we were 17.
Toots and Dudettes, welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to the vlog. So a lot has happened over the past few months with college soccer. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? If it does happen this fall, what kind of steps that programs need to take to keep players safe, to have a great fall season? So far, it's just rumors and speculation and bullshit and jargon. A lot of stuff just being tossed in the air without any factual value to it. So in today's video, we're going to skip all that nonsensical stuff and jump straight into the good stuff, the facts and figures that you guys need to know to understand this subject to its fullest capacity. Because in this day and age with college soccer, it's very political, it's very methodical, it's very just complicated and intricate, and we're going to dive straight into all the stuff that you guys need to know from the basics of this game, and of course, if it's going to happen this fall. So I think a lot of people are assuming that college soccer is safe, that it's fine, that we need it in this day and age, and college soccer is in a really, really bad position in 2020 and moving forward. And people aren't really seeing this from a holistic point of view and really gauging all the factors that contribute to this game at the collegiate level. So in the next maybe 2 or 3 videos, I'm really dive deep in the subject of college soccer and kind of explain to you guys the ins and outs of it and really the pros and the cons of this game and the future of it in the coming years. So without further ado, let's go and begin today's video. Alright, so let's backtrack, guys, to April 2nd. That's probably the first thing I want to mention to you really quickly is just what's been happening for this split season quest. So back when I was a freshman, this is going back 6 years, there was an idea to have a 2-part season. So maybe 12 games or something in the fall, and then maybe 6 games in the spring, or maybe just half and half. But that was just massive from a developmental point of view. We all know the spring's a joke in most programs, and a lot of injuries that happen in that short period of time. Now 17 games in a span of 2.5 months, 3 months, it's hard on the body, as well as academically trying to challenge yourself on the field as well as in the classroom. It's difficult. And there's been an idea to have this split season for the past 7-6 years, and it was about to be approved before COVID. And then COVID happened, and then the virus hits, and now this whole idea to have a 2-part season has been postponed indefinitely. So a lot of things have just been going wrong for college soccer the past really several years, not even a few months. And looking at this from a player's vantage point, college soccer does not look good. To have the same schedule for the past 20 years, to have 17 games in the span of 3 months, players are going to start realizing that this idea, this pathway, this gateway to play professionally in America or even abroad isn't the best anymore in college. And if this was implemented or if this was approved this spring, this 2-part season wouldn't have been instituted until 2022. But maybe if it was approved in the springtime and COVID didn't happen until a little bit later, maybe there would have been some leniency and maybe it would have been instituted a little bit faster. But I don't see this happening for another maybe 3 years to have a 2-part season. And college soccer is going to be taking some more hits from players, from coaches, some more just criticism. And I think college soccer is really in a bad position not having this 2-part season sooner. Now fast forward 3 weeks and we get our first cuts of a men's college soccer program, and that was Cincinnati. And that was a massive blow to me. I played them back when I was a freshman and really was impressed. The facilities, the team camaraderie, it was a great place to play in and play against. And to have them really cut their program out of the blue, I didn't hear anything financially from them that they were experiencing any problems before that, and that was a major blow to the football community because we all saw just how vulnerable and really how exposed college soccer is due to COVID. I've spoken to a lot of different coaches just regarding how fast they cut their program. Is that weird? Is that strange? And they just said that they saw what others didn't see as fast. And I think a lot more programs will see this in the future, that they can't carry 20+ programs in their school. If that's COVID, if that's something financially besides COVID, I think a lot of schools are overexposed with how many programs they have, how many sports they have, and how many sports are in the red. We'll talk more about that in a second. But a few weeks after March Madness was canceled, Cincinnati was jumping ship. And that does not look good for them. But I think they were showed some numbers by their accounting guy right after the tournament was canceled, and they were like, hell to this. we're going to drop some programs, and hopefully that helps our bottom line. But I think in the future, we're going to see a lot more programs understanding the full severity of the situation with COVID and just the future of college sports in general. So far, in my knowledge, only one other program for men's soccer at the D1 level has been cut, and that's Appalachian State. Besides that, maybe like 2 or 3 from NAIA, maybe a few from JUCO, but not that many. But there was a bill that was passed by the NCAA last month that in essence saved college soccer. The NCAA received a request back in April from 27 D1 conferences seeking emergency legislative relief to waive D1 requirements about the minimum number of sports a school must sponsor. In essence, what these conferences were asking is to cut more programs that are in the red than they normally can to help ensure the financial capacity or capability of schools in the future during this uncertain time with the pandemic. Now, obviously, most coaches and players' reactions to this bill was that of relief that this blank check of dropping programs, of cutting programs, was denied. But there's still a lot of just questions in the air. If a school is over-sponsoring teams, sports teams, they can still cut as many as they want down to that minimum of 20. And men's soccer, it's definitely on the chopping block. And for my 2% of female viewers on this channel, do you guys need me worried as much as men do about the future of women's college soccer in the coming years? And the answer is no. Because of Title IX, of course, women's college soccer is the fastest growing college sports since the 1990s. You guys are pretty much A-okay. But for the men's side, it's a different story, and here's why. When you hear athletic directors say that football funds everything else, this is what they mean. We're going to take a look at Ohio State's revenue from this past season, 2019, to give you guys a better understanding of how college sports are funded. So starting off here with the first sport, and that is fencing. Now just to clarify, guys, all these sports programs I'm about to talk about really quickly are for men. There's no women's numbers associated with this whatsoever for net losses and revenue. This is all for men. So for the first sport, we have fencing. Fencing is by far the worst revenue sport at Ohio State by a mile. They made 50 grand in one calendar year, and they lost 782,000. So not pretty. Volleyball, they made 95,000. And they lost 1 million, even worse ratio there. Gymnastics, 100,000, and they lost 976,000. Tennis made 110, they lost 1.1. Track and field made 148, they lost 1.4. And now we have men's soccer. So men's soccer made 200,000, but it lost 1.2. Ohio State has 13 men's programs, so I guess women's has 13 as well because of Title IX. So they have 26 total. So say for example, if Ohio State has some bad repercussions from COVID, they can cut 6 programs total and not face any repercussions from the NCAA. So if soccer's losing $1 million a season, that's definitely a sport that could be considered to be cut in the future. And the rest of sports we can kind of just skip through very quickly. You have swimming, you have golf, you have baseball, lacrosse, ice hockey, wrestling, and the 2 main sports that make the most money for the majority of the big schools are basketball and football. So basketball made an astounding $23 million this past season, and they took home $2 million. And then you have football that took home $64 million. They made $110 million and they took home $64, which is absolutely insane. So when you hear an AD say that football funds the other programs, this is what they mean. Football is king. Now, with March Madness being canceled this past spring and football being postponed most likely a few weeks or a few months this fall, and stadiums not be able to fill to capacity with fans due to COVID, there's going to be a lot of schools that are going to lose an insane amount of money this year. If schools can't sufficiently fund these smaller programs with basketball and football revenue, a lot of these smaller programs will be terminated, including men's soccer. I think a lot of you guys are probably thinking right now that all of this is just hypothetical, Spencer. It's all just a bunch of hearsay. It's all just a bunch of what ifs. And you're right in just to think that, because a lot of stuff has to go wrong for college soccer to be canceled this fall. But let's talk about the facts, the hard evidence against college soccer, that if these things don't happen, it won't be just canceled this fall, but it'll be canceled permanently. I think it's fair to say at this point, guys, if there's no college football this fall, college soccer is pretty much dead, as is pretty much every other sport outside of basketball, football, and baseball, and maybe a few select sports that are more popular in certain states. But the NCAA knows this, and they're in essence forced to play football this year. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If that means less games, less fans, more testing, so be it. They don't really have any room to screw this up this fall. Now, if there's a season this year, which I believe there will be, a modified season, but a season nonetheless, it's going to be a lot different from what people have been normally accustomed to over the years from college soccer. I think there's going to be no non-conference games. You just can't have teams flying over the country for matches. You just can't. There's the option to have more regional non-conference games, or you can just skip it altogether and go straight into conference play. Now, if that happens, you're looking at an 11 to 13 game season, which is very, very fast. And that brings up the question if college soccer is even worth it in 2020, which we'll talk more about in the next video. The last thing I want to mention just very quickly is just if someone gets sick. If someone gets sick, a team has to quarantine for at least 2 weeks. And with a division that has 200 plus programs, someone is going to get sick. Like, it's just inevitable. So what's that mean for the conference standings, the national standings? What's that mean for the team season? Because if they're in quarantine for 2 weeks, they're going to lose at least 2 or 3 games. And that's probably a quarter of their season if it's a 12-game season. So there's just a lot of questions that the NCAA needs to address for this fall to not turn into a clusterfuck. Whether or not there is a college soccer season for 2020 is almost besides the point as of right now. There's just so many gaping holes that COVID has pointed out that I don't think are fixable or even worth considering fixing in the future. I have a vision of how soccer is going to look like in America come the next 5-10 years, and unfortunately college soccer and I aren't seeing eye to eye right now. But that's going to wrap up today's video, guys. I know it's kind of bombshell to end the video talking about college soccer being extinct in the coming years, but this is just one video out of many this month. I'm talking about this topic and kind of the future of soccer in America at the collegiate level. But I'm sure I missed something in the video, guys, regarding this topic. So if you have any questions or comments you want to ask, leave them down below. I'll try to respond to as many as I can in the first 24 hours. But of course, I'll check you guys in the next video. Deuces.